What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and apologies for no video yesterday. I really wasn't feeling well, and realistically I could have pushed myself to get a video out a few hours later than usual, but this league rotation is so dead that I probably just won't have enough content to put out a video every day for the rest of the week anyways, so I figured I'd just try again today, and I'm feeling much better already. Also, I'm going to be showcasing a brand new Pokemon, Tinkaton, that's actually very highly rated in the Spring Cup, the Open Great League, and the Open Ultra League, and that kind of just shows you that I'm really struggling for content ideas at the moment, because usually I don't even touch these brand new Pokemon if they're going to be top meta, but here we are, and I've decided to just run a full Fairy and Steel team, and usually running 3 Pokemon with the exact same dual typing would be incredibly difficult to pull off. However, this is probably the best typing for the Spring Cup, and between the 3 of them, they've actually got pretty good coverage against the meta, so the worst set I had with this team was still positive with a 3 and 2. With that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. What do you think would be the strongest dual type combination that currently doesn't exist in Pokemon Go? Now, this doesn't mean that it has to exist in the main series games, but I want to know what you think, so let me know in the comment section down below. And with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so go into the first battle, leading Tinkaton into Gastrodon. So of course, one of the worst Pokemon to face with a triple steel team. However, we're going to stay in this matchup anyways. Tinkaton is the bulkiest Pokemon on the team. We go for Play Rough, and unfortunately that is shielded by the opponent. Smart play, probably realizing, well, if I'm staying in, I'm probably weak to Gastrodon in the back, but I'm going to call the Body Slam bait. I'm able to tank it, and that allows me to reach a second Play Rough, which is absolutely huge. Play Rough gets them into the red health range. I can come in with my Klefki, and this time I will definitely respect the damage. The opponent full sends the Earth Power. I'm able to shield that up and go for a full Astonish Farm Down, but the opponent comes in with a second huge Core Breaker to the team. Klefki able to reach a Flash Cannon, and the opponent does not respect the damage. It gets the one shot. They've got Shadow Galarian Weezing in the back, and this is still a problematic Pokemon for me. However, they do not farm to the Overheat Sludge. Resisted damage does a lot of damage there, but it doesn't matter. Now Mawile can just go straight Power Up Punch, and whilst that is double resisted, it really does not do much damage. These Astonishes are going to start to chunk, and they will need to shield the next Charge Reef. Otherwise, I will just be able to fully Astonish farm them down. We grab the final shield there. That's boosted. Astonish gets them incredibly low, to the point where actually one Astonish from my Klefki, when we come back in, gets the farm down up against the Weezing, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there. Into next battle, see a Tentacruel in the lead. So this is the main reason I'm running Bulldoze here. Also, Bulldoze is just nice as a cheap energy charge reef. It's not going to do much damage at all. You can see Bulldoze is super effective, and when it does not get the defense drop, it kind of feels completely useless, but either way, it is still cheap. So the opponent going to go for a Scald there. They actually drop my attack, which is really not ideal. We're already not doing much damage. Bulldoze again. No, oh no, never mind. It actually does get a defense drop this time around. However, it does show up the text quite late there. Either way, I'm going to no-shield a Scald. The opponent comes in with a Mantine, and I'm going to go for a foul play here, of course. Flash Cannon is going to be resisted damage. I did actually farm up to a potential Play Rough before throwing. However, the opponent does not shield. I'm going for foul play number 2. Foul play gets the Mantine fairly low, and the opponent over farming massively. Finally going to throw a Charge Reef here. The opponent goes for Aerial Ace, taking out the Klefki. Going to come back in with the Tinkaton, just force the opponent to go for a Water Pulse if they have it, and they do. But we can come in with the Shadow Mawile, go for the Astonish Farm Down. And let's see what the opponent has in the back. They've got a Shadow Cradilly here. So all we have to be wary of is the opponent trying to make a catch here. I can just go straight Power Up Punch here. They're just going to instantly debuff me straight away with a Rock Tomb. But either way, if I just keep on going for these Power Up Punches, I should be able to go for a full Astonish Farm Down. The opponent tries to go for the catch there, and that is going to be game over. The opponent instantly recognizing it, and so they just concede the match. So, GG's up on there. Into next battle, see a Shadow Ferrothorn in the lead. So, I'm going to go for one Fairy Wind, then swap into my Klefki here. But the opponent's going to come in with another Fire Fang Mawile. So, at this point, I can tank a Power Up Punch very comfortably. And I'm probably going to grab a shield here if I farm up to the Flash Cannon, which I've done. So, I'm actually going to go for back-to-back foul plays here. This way, I can grab a shield and guarantee some damage. It is resisted damage, so it's not going to take them out. However, foul play does get the Shadow Mawile fairly low. At this point, I will not be able to go for a Fairy Wind farm down, but I'm going to come in with the Tinkaton anyways, as I am tankier here. I'm going to no-shield this. The opponent goes for another Power Punch here. I'm going to overfarm, then swap into my own Shadow Mawile, go for the Astonish farm down, but again, another Gastrodon there. So Gastrodon and Fire Fang Mawile on the same team. And this time, unfortunately, it's not looking too good for me. I can come in with the Tinkaton. I am going to go for a Bulldoze bait here, but I just don't think it's going to help me that much. I do grab the shield, I drop the defense, and that will allow me to reach a Play Rough, and Play Rough with that drop defense gets the KO, but they've still got an incredibly healthy Shadow Ferrothorn. I've still got 2 shields there. Maybe if I shielded at some point, we could have won that game, but I very much doubt it. But either way, GG's to opponent there into next battle. I see Greninja in the lead, so the opponent is going to go straight for a Hydro Cannon, or at least I assume so. I'm going to no-shield the first move there, and I'm now going to actually bait with the Tinkaton, going for a Bulldoze here. Typically, I do just go and full send the charge move. That would KO, but they actually call that there, so a bit annoying for me, but they do overfarm, which allows me to get to another Bulldoze, and now I swap. I catch what I assume to be a Night Slash because I was fairly low, and it is a Night Slash, which is huge for me. The opponent then comes in with a Lantern, fine with me. I'm going to go straight for a Foul Play. Foul Play not doing too much damage, but of course, Flash Cannon is double resisted, so I have to go for the Foul Plays here. The opponent goes for Thunderbolt, and I'm actually able to get damage registration error, allowing me to reach another Foul Play before I go down, which is huge for me because this puts them into range where I can just come in with my Tinkaton and go straight for a Bulldoze. Now, Tinkaton is bulky, but it does win CMP up against Lantern. Bulldoze gets the KO. They've got a Alola Ninetales in the back, and this should be game over. Now, I'm not quite sure if Greninja does have a Charge Move loaded, however, it doesn't really matter too much. At this point, I'm going straight for Power Punch. I did farm up to a potential Iron Head, but the opponent does correctly call that. They realize their win condition is if I bait, but either way, I should still be fine here. I'm going to shield this. The opponent fires off the Weather Ball. We can go for another Power Punch here. Power Punch should be grabbing a shield, otherwise it puts them into Astonish Farm down range. And at this point, I'm actually happy to let this go through. If it does KO, Tinkaton should still be able to Fairy Wind farm down the rest of the team, but actually it does not get the KO. I come out with another Power Punch loaded. They come back in with Greninja. Power Punch takes out the Greninja, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's top on there into next battle. We see Shadow Abomasnow in the lead, so a great lead matchup for me and just a great Pokemon to deal with for the entire team. And they swap into Mantine as well now. In the earlier stages of the meta, I think every Mantine had Aerial Ace and Ice Beam. However, I'm seeing a lot more Water Pulse these days. Either way, Water Pulse still not going to flip this matchup here as I am resisting the wing attack damage. I'm going to throw on CMP and once again winning CMP here, even with a fairly bulky Pokemon. Play Rough gets the KO. Very risky to go for a Bulldoze there, and I just felt like they weren't going to shield. But they come in with a Gastrodon, which is certainly not ideal. I'm going straight for Play Rough here. If they let this go through though, this will be huge for me, and they do. So now I come in with the Klefki, and at this point, I'm going to shield this up here. The opponent is going to go straight for a Body Slam bait, but they're going to fire another Body Slam, and that's absolutely okay with me. Honestly, I much prefer this than them just going for more Mud Slaps. Now I can go for the full farm down, come out with back-to-back Foul Plays. Foul Play probably going to grab a shield here from the Abomasnow, and at this point, it's pretty much game over. The opponent probably thinking, we've seen 2 Fairy and Steel-type Pokemon so far. Surely they've got something in the back that's weak to the Abomasnow, but that is not the case. Unfortunately, we've got triple Fairy and Steel, and the opponent just concedes the match. So, GG's to win there. Into the next battle, we see a shiny Shadow Cacturn in the lead. Very cool there. They're going to swap into a Fire Fang Marwile. So, of course, not ideal for me, but I can go for a Bulldoze. Bulldoze does respectable damage there. I can come in with my own Marwile. It's just going to be a Power Punch, which I will, of course, be able to tank fairly comfortably, but they do get me very low. Now, I do have energy for an Iron Head, so I'm just going to Blind Throw straight away, but they actually come in with a Tentacruel. Very smart play there, of course. Not going to need to shield anything from Marwile, so they do let that go through. Power Punch really doesn't do much damage there. We're now going to come in with our Klefki, and of course, Cacturn is going to resist the Astonish damage from my Klefki, and we're going to do neutral damage up against the Shadow Tentacruel here, so I might as well stay in this matchup. They go for Acid Spray, so I'm going to swap out straight away there, but unfortunately, even though they are, of course, going to hit for resisted damage, they can go for Trailblaze, boost up their Sucker Punch damage here, and now things are getting a little bit tricky for us, but we go for Bulldoze. Bulldoze is not going to drop their defense, so I have to throw another Bulldoze here, otherwise they would actually be able to reach a Charge Tree before we get the full farm down, but now, unfortunately, we leave with just the right HP for the opponent to fully farm me down, get the maximum amount of energy there, come out with a Scald. Scald does big damage. I farm up to back-to-back Foul Plays. However, Foul Play is non-stab. It doesn't do much damage. And unfortunately, whilst I can grab the final shield here and reach a second Foul Play does not take out the Shadow Tentacruel, and I do end up losing that game. But GG's up on there into the next battle. We see a Tentacruel in the lead this time around. So once again, this is sort of okay here. This is definitely why I'm running Bulldoze. But as we've seen already, Bulldoze not going to do much damage in this matchup. Bulldoze is going to be no shielded. It does drop their defense this time, so that's great. The opponent goes for Scald there. I'm now going to swap into my Klefki as I've dropped their defense. We're doing quite a lot of damage with these Astonishes. I'm actually going to shield this up here as the opponent does go straight for Scald once again before they come in with a Ferrothorn. So at this point, I'm going to go for the Foul Play here. Foul Play, not going to do much damage here in neutral situations where, of course, Foul Play is non-stab. It really doesn't do that much damage, but we do reach a second Foul Play. Foul Play gets them fairly low, and at this point, I'm happy to let the Klefki go down. But Flash Cannon actually doesn't take us out there, so I'm actually going to save the Klefki, come in with my Shadow Marwile. This is just going to be a Power Whip, which is resisted damage. It does actually do quite a lot of damage there. Maybe I should have just thrown a Parrot Punch straight away. But either way, they come in with a Tentacruel. I can go for the Parrot Punch here, boost up my attack. They're going to just no shield, let that go through. And their final Pokemon is a Credilli. Now, Credilli, unfortunately, got nowhere to run up against this team. We can go straight for Parrot Punch. Parrot Punch does grab a shield there. And at this point, I'm definitely just going to shield my Marwile. The opponent fires off the Rock Tomb there, debuffing my attack, but it doesn't really matter. I can now go straight for Play Rough. Play Rough should be grabbing the final shield from the opponent, and it does exactly that. So at this point, of course, all shields are down. From this range, Rock Tomb takes out the Shadow Marwile. I can come back in with the Tinkaton, and I will outpace them to the next charge move. So Play Rough from this range will be taking out Credilli. They come back in with their Tentacruel, and unfortunately, we lose CMP here. If this is a Scald will be taking out the Tinkaton, but it doesn't matter. Klefki able to Astonish, farm down the Tentacruel, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there. Into next battle, see a Shadow Quagsire in the leads, of course. Not really ideal for me, but I'm going to stay in this matchup. Tinkaton should be able to tank a Mud Bomb reasonably comfortably, so they will need 2 charge moves to take us out here, or just farm up a lot here. And so the opponent is going to throw a charge move. The opponent is actually just on Aqua Tail, so that's fine with me. I'm going to have to shield the next charge move here because I will be able to reach a Play Rough. However, the opponent is going to make a very nice catch there, swapping out, catching the Play Rough onto Galarian Weezing. Really nice play there, and that's a huge setback for me. I can come in with the Shadow Marwile. I just assume they're going to go straight for an Overheat here, so the opponent is going to full send it, which does actually allow me to go for a full Astonish farm down. That Quagsire does have a little bit of energy, so I'm going to throw straight away here, and Play Rough is unfortunately going to be shielded by the Quagsire. At this point, of course, all shields are down. Aqua Tail does not get the KO, but it puts me into perfect farm down range. Even better for the opponent. A lot worse for me. We are going to come in with the Klefki here. And the opponent probably not on Mud Bomb at this point, otherwise they would have thrown it. So I'm going to, of course, come in with the Klefki. They go for Aqua Tail and then going to swap, try to force the opponent to throw. But instead, they bank the energy. They come in with a Shadow Tentacruel. We go straight for Bulldoze. And again, Bulldoze, such underwhelming damage. It does drop their defense, however, but it's still not going to be enough damage here. I can go straight for Foul Play. Foul Play does not get the KO. They reach the Scald here, and Scald from this range easily takes out the Klefki, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's up on there. Into the next battle, we see Golisopod in the lead. So I'm going to stay in this matchup here. I'm happy to play out the zero shield scenario here. But if the opponent does shield, after I go for a Play Rough, I probably will swap out. So the opponent goes for Aqua Jet there. I'm going straight for Play Rough. I do wait one turn just to make sure they don't make a catch. Play Rough, going to be shielded. So I swap into my Klefki. And at this point, I'm going to shield this first charge move because I'm hoping by the time I do throw a Foul Play, I can go for a full farm down. So we go for the Foul Play after one Astonish, throwing on good timing. Foul Play puts them into range. Will one Astonish, does get the KO, and they come in with Livani. So, of course, double Shadow Claw users so far. Quite an interesting team. I'm going straight for Foul Play. Foul Play, gonna be no-shielded. And at this point, of course, I'm going to let this move go through. The opponent is going to go for a Leaf Blade, which I'm able to tank. So I swap into my Shadow Marwile. I can tank a Leaf Blade on the Marwile as well. So Leaf Blade is going to connect. I get the full Astonish farm down. And they've got Trevenant in the back. So they've got a triple Shadow Claw team, which is cool to see. But unfortunately, not ideal up against my team, as we can go straight for the Play Rough, grab the final shield. I did bank a Foul Play, so even if I lose CMP here, it doesn't matter. Foul Play, gonna connect, it gets the KO up against the Trevenant, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there. Into next battle, see Jellicent in the lead. Of course, I've got two Astonish users in the back, so I'm going to go for one fast move, then swap out here, just because if the opponent wants to stay in and throw a charge move, they're going to be throwing on alignment, which is not ideal for them. They go for Shadow Ball there. We get, of course, a full Astonish in for free as they throw, and they come in with a Tentacruel. So, of course, Tentacruel going to be able to sponge this damage reasonably comfortably as well, so not ideal for me, as they can now go for a fully resisted Poison Jab farm down, but we do get them into the red health range. So at this point, I'm going to come in with the Tinkaton. Tinkaton just sponge the damage here. If they go for Acid Spray, I probably will shield the next move, and they do go for Acid Spray. So, of course, now Scald are going to do quite a lot of damage. I'm just going to play it safe here. Use my shield. They go for the Scald there. I'm now going to continue to overfarm, eventually snipe with my Marwile here, clear the debuff, and bank a ton of energy on that Tinkaton. They come back in with a Jellicent. They try to catch a charge move or something. I don't know. But either way, it doesn't really matter. Things are looking great for me. I go straight for Play Rough, dealing huge damage up against the Tropius. I do not need to shield anything here. Everything is resisted, even if they have like Brutal Swing that's still resisted. And actually, I put them into perfect farm down range. I could have just thrown the charge move straight away. I don't really know why I didn't, but either way, I'm now going to shield, swap into my Tinkaton. I've got 100 energy, so I go for the extra Fairy Wind. That actually did not help me out that much. But either way, I can go for Bulldoze number 2 straight away. And of course, from this range, Bulldoze should be grabbing the final shield from the opponent, and they need to farm 2 back-to-back charge moves, but they're not able to get there. Tinkaton reaches a third Bulldoze. Bulldoze gets the KO, and even if they did throw a charge move and take us out there, Marwile did have a Play Rough banked anyways, but GG's to the opponent there. Into the next battle, we see Barbarical in the lead. So of course, they are on Mud Slap. They could be on Fury Cutter, which I've seen a couple of times, which would obviously be a lot better for this team. But either way, we go for Bulldoze. Bulldoze grabs the shield there, and I should be able to live anything they throw. Maybe Stone Edge would take us out there, but they go for Grass Knot. I'm able to tank that as it is, of course, non-stab damage and resisted. Play Rough grabs the final shield, however, so definitely not ideal for me, as they're still very healthy, but they swap into a shiny Shadow Galarian Weezing. So this fight, I'm definitely going to shield this. They're probably going to bait me, but either way, they go for Sludge there. I'm going straight for Flash Cannon. I do overfarm ever so slightly, going just one Astonish over. Flash Cannon gets the KO from that range. Just get rid of that Weezing. They come back in with the Barbarical, and I'm hoping at this point that they're not, like, double strong up against a steel team, so we go for Foul Play. Foul Play does put them into range where I can Astonish farm them down. The opponent goes for Stone Edge. I swap into Marwile, but they've got a Fire Fang Marwile in the back. And if I was on Iron Head, honestly, it wouldn't be too bad for me, as I could go for it here. But unfortunately, I have to go for Power Up Punch. Power Up Punch, nowhere near enough damage to get the KO. And unfortunately, I get Fire Fang farm down, and I do end up losing that game. But GG's to opponent there. Into the next battle, another Jellicent in the lead. So once again, go for one Fairy Wind, then swapping out. And we are going to see a response with a Shadow Credilli. Maybe swapping out there, expecting, well, it's not going to be good up against the Tinkaton. I might as well just swap it into the Klefki. But actually, this is a really good matchup for me, especially as the opponent does not shield the Flash Cannon. I'm able to get the one shot there. And let's see what the opponent wants to do. They come in with their own Astonish Shadow Marwile here, and I can reach a second Flash Cannon. So just committing to it here. Flash Cannon is going to be shielded by the opponent, fine with me. We're going to come in with the Tinkaton, and I can no shield this first charge move. The opponent goes for a Power Up Punch there, which is absolutely fine with me. They're going to reach another charge move. At this point, I'm definitely just going to shield, respect the damage, and it is the Iron Head this time around. So now I can go for a Bulldoze. Bulldoze is going to hit for super effective damage. From this range, it probably gets the KO, and especially after debuffing their defense, it will definitely take out this Marwile. And at this point, I'm now just going to stay in up against this Jellicent, wait for the opponent to throw a charge move, and now I can come in with my Shadow Marwile. They actually go for a Surf there. Surf does not get the KO. I didn't want to risk staying in, trying to reach a Bulldoze, and then just getting farmed down. So instead, we swap out immediately into Marwile. They full send the Shadow Ball there. They realize they're not reaching another charge move, and so they just concede the match. So, GG's up on there. Into the next battle, we see Lapras in the lead. So, this is a good matchup for me. Well, it's fairly good here. These Fire Waves are resisted. However, 2 Sparkling Arias will get us fairly low. I'm going to go straight for Play Rough. Play Rough is going to be no-shielded by the opponent. I actually throw on CMP there. Winning CMP once again. They go for Sparkling Aria, and you can see they have now got me into the yellow health range. So, if I do let this go through, eventually they will be able to fast move farm me down. So, I'm going to overfarm just a little bit. Fire off the Play Rough. If they shield this, I will be swapping out of this matchup. And the opponent is going to shield. I swap into my Klefki. The opponent is going to bank a ton of energy before swapping into a Ferrothorn, which is fine with me, of course. We're going to go straight for Foul Play here. Foul Play, not going to do too much damage. We've seen this already. But I'm now going to throw another Foul Play on the CMP type with a potential Flash Cannon. Foul Play number 2 is going to get them fairly low. And actually, it's going to put them into range where I can just Astonish farm them down. They do bait with a Power Whip. However, even with that bait, they are not going to reach another Flash Cannon. So I'm able to get the full farm down there. And let's see what the opponent wants to do. The opponent comes in with a Credilli, and I'm committing to the Flash Cannon here. Of course, Flash Cannon going to hit for super effective damage. Flash Cannon nearly gets the one shot. They're forced to throw a charge move, but at this point, it's going to be game over. Nothing will take us out here. They come back in with the Lapras. They realize there's nothing they can do, and so they just concede the match. So, GG's up on there. Into the next battle, we see a Quagsire in the lead once again. So, once again, not really ideal for me, but I am going to farm up. I'm going to overfarm this time around. The opponent does throw on the potential CMP tie with a Play Rough, and they are actually on Mud Bomb this time. So, not really ideal for me. I'm going to fire off the Play Rough. Play Rough is going to be no-shielded. And at this point, I think I'm just going to let the Tinkaton go down. Since I have, of course, dealt some damage there, I can now come in with my Shadow Marwell, and I'm hoping I can shield once and go for a full Astonish farm down. The opponent fires off Mud Bomb, number 2, and we are able to get that full farm down, which is very nice. But they've got a second Mud Boy in the bag. This would be so funny if it's like triple Fairy and Steel versus triple Mud Boy. We do actually land the Play Rough, but I'm so annoyed with myself there. Basically, I started for a split second thinking, should I swap out or should I just let them farm me down? And as a result, because I missed one turn, I end up not landing that Astonish damage, and actually, you're going to see this endgame is going to be incredibly close here. Of course, Klefki is now permanently debuffed with that Bubble Beam, and the opponent is just going to keep on spamming out these Bubble Beams, which is going to be super frustrating. But of course, I am resisting the wing attack damage, so if I just continue to overfarm here, then I should actually be okay as long as I'm able to throw a charge move into the Gastrodon coming back in. So I'm going to farm up 2 back-to-back foul plays here. I want to have a foul play stored for the opponent when they inevitably swap back into Gastrodon, and I'm able to get there. And you're going to see how close this is. Foul play just barely doesn't get the KO there. Of course, if I landed that extra Astonish, that would KO, and then I think with the resisted wing attack damage, I could probably reach another charge up against the Mantine, but unfortunately, because I hesitated, I end up losing that game. But GG's to opponent there. Into the next battle, we're going to see the opponent's going to Safe Swap into Jellicent after leading with a Shadow Cacturn. I'm going to no-shield the first charge move here as they just go for a Surf. Makes sense because Shadow Ball wouldn't quite take us out there, so might as well go for the slightly faster move, but I'm going to throw on CMP. Foul play, gets the KO there. They come back in with the Shadow Cacturn, and I don't have Play Rough, but I do farm up to it anyways, and Foul Play is going to be grabbing a shield. Now, the opponent farms me down there, but that's okay. I can come in with the Tinkaton. I'm definitely just going to shield, respect the damage. The opponent is going to go and full send that Dynamic Punch before swapping into a Tentacruel. So at this point, I'm going to go for the Bulldoze. We've seen this already. Bulldoze really does not do much damage, but it does drop the defense there. It is a little bit annoying that the defense fell text comes up so late, but either way, I'm going to let the move go through there, come in with my Shadow Marwell, and this should be game over now. At this point, all I have to do is shield this up here. Even if they do bait with an Acid Spray, that's totally fine with me. They're not going to reach another charge move, and I come out with back-to-back Power Up Punches. And what's Power Punch? Definitely not the strongest move. Up against Shadow Cacturn, it is going to hit hard. So the opponent no shields that first charge move. They realize it's game over, and so they just concede the match. So, GG's to opponent there. Into the final battle of this video, we see a shiny Shadow Marwell in the lead, which is cool to see, and they're also not on Firefang, which is great for me because, of course, Firefang is very problematic for my team. They go for a Power Punch, fine with me. I'm going straight for Bulldoze here, and you will see Bulldoze, even up against a shiny Shadow Marwell, does not do much damage. However, I can still tank a Power Punch very comfortably. I think at this point, I'm just going to bank the energy, come in with my Klefki. I've dropped the defense, so I'm able to get a full Astonish farm down. Now, the opponent is going to think about what to do. They come in with a Galarian Weezing. So here I will, because I've got such a huge energy advantage, go straight for that Flash Cannon. Flash Cannon is going to be shielded by the Galarian Weezing. At this point, since I've grabbed the shield, I'm happy to let the Klefki go down. But they go for a Brutal Swing, which probably implies they're not running Overheat. And the opponent is going to show their other move is going to be a Sludge. I come in with my Marwell, and this should be game over. As of course, I'm hitting for super effective damage with these Astonishes. They fire off the Surf. I'm going straight for Play Rough here. I am not messing around. I don't want to go for a Power Punch and have it shielded. Play Rough gets the KO up against the Jellicent, and this should be game over. The opponent got off the charge move. I should maybe live this. Actually, Sludge probably does get the KO despite being resisted. But either way, doesn't matter. Play Rough grabs the final shield. I snipe with the Tinkaton. And of course, from this range, Bulldoze does get the KO up against the Weezing. And I'm able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. And if you want to take your support even further, you can now become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has already already become a channel member. Your support is greatly appreciated, and with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.